Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited for this conversation.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
It's been less than 48 hours since the assassination attempt on former President Trump. He says he wants to strike a more unified message. What will a changed Trump look like?
Well, Trump always rises to the moment. He did it in every single one of his State of the Union speeches. I'll never forget how good he was on the floor of the House when he gave those powerful speeches, some of the big speeches that he gave at Mount Rushmore and other places. He just has a way of rising to the moment. So I expect Thursday to be that type of historic speech, not just from someone who was already a historic figure, but now someone who I think will live on as an iconic figure. That photo on Saturday night that was seen all over the world is a photo that's going to be in history books 100 years from now, nearly missing an assassination attempt. It's President Trump's moment and opportunity, I think, Thursday to seal the deal. I think Donald Trump was already going to win in November. I think he seals the deal on Thursday with a powerful speech that brings the country together, that ensures that he's going to win by historic margins.
Have you spoken to him or texted him or otherwise been in touch with him?
I called him this morning. I told him I'm in Milwaukee. He answered the phone, and we had a great short chat. Told him that my family is praying for him and his family. We're so glad that he's okay, and we're excited about Thursday. So we had a nice short chat, but he was as upbeat as ever. I think he understands the historic significance of this week, the Republican convention here in Milwaukee, how important it is to not just bring the party together. But one note from today already, I was on the House floor. I gave the nomination speech awarding the delegates from Indiana. This Republican Party is more united than the Republican Party has ever been in my lifetime. You saw that with former Trump critics who are now 100% on board with them. But I think what you're going to see on Thursday is someone who looks as a candidate running for president, again, a former president running against a current president, already historic. You're going to hear a speech from someone who rises to the moment and looks far more presidential maybe than what he ever looked before.
Do you get the sense that he was concerned at all about his safety moving forward? I mean, it's still another 4 months.
Yeah.
And, I've got some reporting that on Saturday he was supposed to go to Grand Rapids. It wasn't announced, but did he talk to you at all about what the next 4 months in terms of his travel, his campaigning, what would that look like?
The president told me he won't back down. He won't stop. He won't let any of this deter him from going out and doing what it takes to win in November and save the country. And that's what I've come to expect from him. I spent a good amount of time with him when he was in the White House as a new member of the House of Representatives elected in 2016. So I served 4 years with him in the White House. I got to know him better, though, when he left the White House. I was chairman of the Republican Study Committee, the largest conservative caucus on Capitol Hill. And we spent a lot of time with him when he was thinking about running again and what another campaign would look like in this campaign cycle. And one thing that President Trump is, from the very first time that I ever spent time with him, he always talked to me about not backing down. Don't back down. And what you saw on Saturday, raising his fist in that powerful moment, is someone who does not know how not to back down. And I think that's what you're going to see him he's not going to miss a beat. He's going to stay on the campaign trail and run hard into November because there's so much at stake.
How will Saturday's events change your next steps in Congress? The rest of this term, you're virtually guaranteed to be elected the next senator of Indiana. What will that look like?
There are no guarantees. So I won't take it for granted. I'm running hard in Indiana. I'm the Republican nominee. I ran unopposed in Indiana. And a big thank you to Donald Trump. I mean, Indiana is Trump country. He's more popular in Indiana than he was ever in 2016 or 2020. He's far more popular today even than what he was then. So when he endorsed me, the first endorsement of the 2024 election cycle, way back in January of 2023, it helped clear the field in Indiana. No other Republican in our state wanted to step up and run against me. So he cleared the field. Now we're running hard into November. But as far as what happened on Saturday, I think it further unifies the Republican Party.
But what will your next term, what will the rest of this term, I mean, are you working on anything specific in terms of making sure this doesn't happen again? I mean, is there anything tangible that your party in Congress can do?
Well, yes. I mean, Jamie Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, and Speaker Johnson has already tasked, on a conference call yesterday, tasked House Republicans with jurisdiction on committees to begin an investigation and what went wrong on Saturday. Obviously, there were lapses in security by the Secret Service that at this point it's not a blame game, but something went wrong. So it deserves an investigation to make sure something like that never happens again. And I think that's an important priority. We have a moral obligation in the House Republican majority to do what we can to investigate what happened to stop that from happening again. But I think everyone agrees, whether you're on the right or the left, this is a very tense moment in American politics. And it has been since I got elected to Congress in the election of 2016. The heightened tension. I mean, I've had death threats against my family, my 3 young daughters. I mean, very recently, a person arrested for that. And the U.S. Capitol Police, who does heroes work, I mean, they've boosted their security. I'm sure the Secret Services as well. What we saw happen on Saturday, I mean, I think I applaud President Trump for doing what he will do on Thursday to unify the country, and I appreciate that President Biden is doing what he can as well, and speaking to the country last night about bringing down the temperature to try to prevent something like that from happening ever again, too.
I'm glad you mentioned your 3 daughters. This event is called Save the Children. I mean, taking politics aside for just 1 minute, I mean, what are we missing? What sorts of systems need to be in place to make sure that young people, in this case, a 20-year-old, doesn't unleash just absolute horrifying tragedy?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we have to look at what happened, and I know those investigations are ongoing to see what could have been done to prevent that shooter from getting on the roof and attempting to assassinate President Trump. So it deserves more attention. But I think there are big mental health issues in this country. We have a drug crisis in this country, and that deserves a lot of attention by President Trump in the next presidential term and by Congress over the next few years as well. What can we do about it?
Let me shift gears a bit. You're very close with J.D. If he and former President Trump were to win, what kind of vice president would he be? How would he complement Trump?
Yeah, I think he adds so much to the ticket. I mean, President Trump is the leader of the Republican Party and the America First movement. J.D. Vance is the next generation of it. So it cements that Trump legacy for a long time to come. I know J.D. very well. Both of our families come from the same mountain town in Kentucky. My dad was one of 10 boys and girls, part of a hillbilly family that moved. I say that affectionately. My grandma and grandpa Banks moved to Indiana from Jackson, Kentucky, which is the same town.
You don't call him Papa also, do you?
We have lots of names, and some of them are not appropriate, but a true hillbilly family, a working class family. And this is what I love about J.D. Vance is the pick. When it comes to the swing Midwestern states that Trump Vance have to win in November, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the working class blue collar voters who used to vote Democrat but are Trump Republicans today, nobody can go out and help Donald Trump talk to those voters better than J.D. Vance, who comes from a similar working class background as a lot of those voters do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm hearing that J.D. Vance will be parked in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin.
Appropriately.
So the flip side of this, J.D. Vance is 39. He's turning 40 soon. He's a one-term senator, like not even. What's going to be his biggest challenge?
I don't know that he'll be challenged at all.
Come on.
I mean, he brings a unique, fresh perspective, and I think that's what America is hungry for. He's the next generation. And he's so articulate. I mean, if you've read Hillbilly Elegy, I mean, I read it when it came out in 2016. Yep. It's a powerful book. It's not a political book, but it explains the moment that we're in about the forgotten working men and women of this country. And I think what's powerful about that is that he's going to bring that perspective very well to the White House. What I found in American politics today, and I don't mean to demean any of my current or future colleagues, is that Congress is filled with millionaires and people who are very wealthy, who come from both sides of the aisle, who oftentimes self-fund their campaigns to get themselves elected to Congress or the Senate who aren't really fully in touch with the people who they represent and don't understand that inflation really hurts working class people, the people who live paycheck to paycheck like a lot of people in my family do, who feel the pinch of Bidenomics and the economic picture that we find ourselves in today. I think J.D. Vance, because of where he came from, can talk to those people in a powerful way, and I think he'll be a very good vice president.
Maybe just one piece of advice you have for him.
Well, I watched the last running mate and vice president to Donald Trump very closely. He happens to come from my home state, and I think Donald Trump was the president. He's going to be the president again. He's the driver of the agenda. I find Donald Trump, by the way, every time I've ever spoken with him, he's very open to feedback. And I hope, but I already know that J.D. Vance will be very eager to provide him that feedback and give him perspective and tell him things maybe sometimes that he doesn't want necessarily to hear, but it'll be powerful feedback to help him make important decisions for our country. I know he's going to do that, so he doesn't need my advice.
Alrighty. The tax package. I mean, it's among, a number of ways that the next Senate, next Congress will have to address, as well as the child's tax credit. I mean, in those two issues, what is it that you'd want to change?
I was there in 2017 when we passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And by the way, as another side note, since we're here at the Republican Convention, the biggest difference between 2016 and 2024 is that the leadership of the Republican Party in the House and the Senate today are aligned with the next president. And in 2016, they weren't always aligned. And when it comes to an issue like the tax cuts, I think the biggest mistake that we made in 2017 is that we overemphasized corporate tax rates and didn't make the individual tax cuts permanent for working families. And we cannot make that mistake again.
And that's what you're proposing.
That's my hope as the next senator from Indiana representing hardworking Hoosier families. It'll be my mission and my priority to emphasize making the individual tax cuts permanent as part of a larger package. I mean, that's the leverage. There are lots of other things and those tax cuts that we need to make permanent, but the top mission, the first priority, is making the individual rates permanent. And I think a lot of Republicans today who weren't necessarily in line with that school of thought in 2017 are very much unified and understanding that that's the priority today.
And
that's the working class, the new working class oriented Republican Party of today that is different than 2017.
And my understanding is that's going to be a big theme in your speech this week.
That's right. I have the honor to speak tomorrow night along with a number of other Senate candidates, Republican candidates.
Give us a little preview.
Yeah, I come from a working class background. My dad is a retired union factory worker. My mom is a nursing home cook, and we didn't come from a lot. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a powerful name or a whole lot of power in the small working class town that I came from. But that's what makes this country great. I mean, this is the greatest country in the history of the world, and we got to protect it.
Okay, I want to end with two fun things. Give us one fun thing about yourself that we may not know, and one fun thing about former President Trump that we do not know.
Well, the second question is harder. I'm a girl dad. I have three daughters, 14, 13, and 11. So please pray for me. My daughters went and saw Caitlin Clark play last weekend. She had the best game that she's ever had at the Indiana Fever. We're basketball fans, but I find, I grew up with brothers. I didn't have sisters, so every day is a learning experience. I find out every day that I'm not in charge and I don't know anything. I do have a boy dog named Marshall.
Do you know about girl math?
The girl band?
Girl math.
Girl math. I don't know girl math. But I've learned a lot about Taylor Swift. So,
okay, good. And one fun thing about former President Trump that we don't know.
The incredible thing about President Trump is, and I'm going to write about this one day, but when he was president, he welcomed all of us, members of Congress. I was a nobody freshman member of Congress. He welcomed us into the White House, into the Oval Office. He took me up to, one day he said, "Do you want to see the Lincoln bedroom?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I want to go see the Lincoln bedroom. Took me up to the Lincoln bedroom and gave me a tour of the private residence and got to ride in the limo with them, got to spend time at Camp David. President Trump is a regular person. It's a side of him that most people will never see. And I can't wait for him to be back in the White House and have repeat some of those experiences again. I did see him one time dip his steak in ketchup. So I like that. His appeal to regular, normal people. Like my dad is a lifelong Union Democrat who loved Ross Perot. Donald Trump was the second candidate that he loved. He didn't love other Republicans. He was more excited about Trump winning in 2016 than me winning a seat in Congress. And Donald Trump he appeals to voters like my dad in such a big way. He's turned those working class Union voters into Trump Republican voters, which is why I think he's going to win big in November.
Congressman Jim Banks, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for making this possible, and you're welcome to stick around, grab a bite, have a drink, and tomorrow we'll have more great programming, including an interview with Donald Trump Jr. Thank you.